This is a HuffPost Live Food for Thought segment in partnership with Chipotle. Idaho Governor Butch Otter recently signed a law that mandates jail time and fines for people who secretly film animal abuse on Idaho's agricultural facilities. The state's neighbour, Utah, already has a similar law that's being challenged in federal court for infringing activists' free speech rights to expose cruelty. Opponents of these laws call them agriculture gag bills or ag-gag bills. Do those critics have a point? Or should activists be able to secretly film on private property without the owner's permission? How did this law come about? Was its passage controversial in Idaho?
Yeah, this is one of the most controversial bills that's come up this session. It came about when actually a Mercy for Animals undercover investigation found some pretty horrific animal abuse happening on a dairy, and while a bill wasn't brought up during the 2013 session, soon after, it scared the majority of the dairy industry here in Idaho, and working with a lot of the farm bureaus, the dairy industry, our lawmakers began pushing a bill this session that's become known as the ag-gag bill, and it's been an interesting development over the session. Really long testimonies for and against from both sides, from our dairy industries to proponents of undercover investigations, some free speech issues. But lawmakers continue to pass it, and governor shortly signed it into law just a couple weeks ago.
Well, let's take size out of this. We can look at a really small farmer that's using exactly the same practices as a large farmer. Is that abuse, or is it not, just because he has exactly the same practices? Or using the same system as a large farmer. There's hog farmers that only have 5 hogs, and they're still using some of the practices that Mercy for Animals and Humane Society think should be outlawed, and they're using them because they think it's the best practice for their pigs to make sure that they're well cared for. And as their customers should have a right to, how they're being cared for and choose whether they want to support them or another type of farm.
Context is important, and it's really important to note that kicking an animal, dragging them by their tails and limbs, pushing them and slamming them into trucks is wrong.